And we have reached the midway point in the season. We are at the All-Star break here in the 2021 campaign. And without further ado, let's just hop straight into going over what we need to go over, the standings, the stats, and also a little bit of a preview of what could possibly happen at the trade deadline. So as far as the standings goes, the AL East, the Red Sox are sitting in first place, but the Rays and Yankees are both extremely good as well. The AL East just absolutely stacked as usual in this game. The Rays are just, like, incredible in this game. I mean, the Yankees are a really, really good team, and they're in front of them. And then you look at the AL Central, the Twins just have a massive 14.5 game lead already on the White Sox for first place in that division, and the White Sox are also, on paper, a very solid team. Maybe not up to snuff with pitching, especially with the upgraded pitching that the Twins have this season, when they added Trevor Bauer, and they have Mike Minor still, and they've got Ken Giles in their bullpen. But still, the White Sox are definitely a very solid team, especially since they added Mookie Betts in the offseason. And then in the AL West, you've got the Angels and the Astros. They've been battling it out for first place. Currently, the Halos have a 1.5 game lead on the Stros. And then if we take a look at the NL East, it's the Marlins in first place. I don't care how unrealistic that is, I just love seeing that type of shit in this franchise, or in any franchise that I do. I hate it when every single season, it's just the same predictable stuff in every single division. It's like, oh man, Red Sox doing good in the East. Oh man, Indians doing good in the Central. Oh, Angels and Astros in the West. And then the NL East is usually like the Nationals every single year. But I mean, man, get those other teams involved. The Marlins coming up big, currently sitting in first place. The Nats are right behind them, though, so they do still have to play good for the rest of the season. I believe they were even, like, in a playoff spot at the trade deadline, or at the, not the trade deadline, but the All-Star break last year. So we'll have to see if this year's Marlins team can actually hold on for the rest of the season and end up making the playoffs for the first time in, like, I don't know, it's got to be a long time. And then in the National League Central, the Cubs are currently sitting in first place, while the Brewers and Pirates are still hanging on 5 and 5.5 games back, respectively. It is a pretty weak division. No one has a great record, even the Brewers, so all those teams are not really the strongest teams, but they do still have all shots at the playoffs, obviously. And then in the National League West, the D-backs are actually out in front. Absolutely wild to be in front of the Dodgers in this game, because they are absolutely stacked. Cody Bellinger is a cheat code in this game. And even the Rockies are still floating around as well, but they were floating around last year, even at the trade deadline. That's why we gave them Ocasio, and then they just kind of shat the bed for the rest of the season, so we'll see if they can continue to float around for the entire season. And now it is the All-Star break, so it's time to go over the All-Star teams. We're actually going to show them this year because I actually remembered. So starting things off with the American League, the starting pitchers are Garrett Cole, Eduardo Rodriguez, Lucas Giolito, Mike Minor, and Chris Sale of the Red Sox. The relief pitcher is Steve Cishek of the Chicago White Sox, while the closers are Ken Giles, Brad Hand, Joe Jimenez, Aroldis Chapman, Liam Hendricks, and Michael Givens. While the catchers are Mitch Garver, Salvador Perez, and Robinson Chirinos, making another All-Star game. He's with the Rays this season. Then at first base, it's Jose Abreu and Travis Shaw. Second base, it's Jose Altuve and Hanser Alberto. And then at third base, it's Alex Bregman, Kyle Seager, Didi Gregorius? I mean, they've got to give an All-Star to somebody on our team, but I mean, Didi? Like, come on. The guy has got like a 600 OPS. And then we've got Isaac Paredes of the Tigers. At shortstop, it's Xander Bogaerts and Marcus Semien. Left field, you have Yordan Alvarez, JD Martinez, Michael Brantley, and Eddie Rosario. Center field is, of course, Mike Trout. And then in right field, it is Mookie Betts back in the American League and Jorge Soler. No Aaron Judge, surprisingly. And then taking a look at the National League, you have the starters in Max Scherzer, Jameson Taillon, Jacob deGrom, Clayton Kershaw, and John Gray of the Colorado Rockies. Edgar Garcia of the Philadelphia Phillies is the reliever. The closers are AJ Minter of the Braves, Corey Knebel, however you say his, I always mess up his name, Kirby Yates, Raisel Iglesias, Tony Watson, and Giovanni Gallegos. The catchers are JT Realmuto, Francisco Mejia, Carson Kelly, while the first basemen are Freddie Freeman and Paul Goldschmidt. Second base is Adam Frazier of the Pirates and Wilmer Flores. Third base is Chris Bryant, Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, and Eduardo Escobar, who's having a great season with the D-backs. The shortstops are Javier Baez, Corey Seager, as both Seager brothers are all-stars this year. Nick Castellanos is the left fielder. Then in center field, whereas Jonathan Villar is going to be the starting center fielder of the Marlins. Whit Merrifield, who's now on the Cubs. Starling Marte, who is now on the Mets. Brian Reynolds from the Pirates. And then Ronald Acuna. And then in right field, it is, of course, Bryce Harper of the Philadelphia Phillies. And now we take a look at the current stats for our Texas Rangers ball club. First things first, there is Yoenis Cespedes, who has been pretty solid against right-handed pitching this season, and awful against left-handed pitching. He is still sitting at an 802 OPS with 15 bombs, though, so I mean, that is as good as we could have hoped for that he would perform, and hopefully we're going to trade him at the deadline, but we'll see what happens, as we will get on and that a bit later on in the episode. And if you look at his ratings, you'll see that because he's performing so poor against lefties, that he has taken a hit to his lefty ratings quite a bit. Michael Brosseau, every time I give this guy a shot, he performs. 783 OPS, obviously nothing crazy, but I mean, it's steady. And that is something that I need on this team, because nobody is steady, and Michael Brosseau is. I mean, he could very well play himself into our long-term plans. I mean, he's probably already there, to be honest. Michael Brosseau is somebody I very much enjoy using in game, very much enjoy having on the team, can play all over the infield. It's just a matter of what position he'll be for us long-term, because, like I said, he can play all over the infield. Albert Almora Jr. has been picking things up recently. He's up to a 762 OPS as opposed to the 600s he was in earlier in the season. It's just a matter of how he performs in the second half of the year that will determine his future with this organization. If he shits the bed in the second half, well, you're not coming back next year. If he performs, then we might think about bringing him back next year. Nick Solak has cooled off a little bit since that hot streak that he had, but that hot streak he had was quite impressive, and I would very much like for Solak to become one of the key guys on our team, because his versatility is very useful. If we sign a guy to be like a second baseman, or if a second baseman comes up through the system, we can always just move Solak to like literally anywhere else, and he'll be completely fine at that position. Like, for example, this season, he's played mainly second and right, but he can play center, left, third. I mean, I'm sure if we really even needed him to, he could play shortstop. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has been called up recently. He only has 50 ABs in the big leagues this year, but he's actually been kind of impressive. I've started looking at these guys sort of differently. Guys like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and even Bryce Terang, who I will get into a bit later on. I can't expect them to have 900 OPSs. I would like them to, but I mean, I can't really expect them to. So I mean, a 300 average with a 364 OBP, but like a sort of low slugging percentage, that's pretty solid. I mean, I will take that from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa all day long. So if he wants to continue to hit like that and have like a mid-700s OPS, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I will take that time in and time out from someone like him, so hopefully he can keep that up. Sam Huff, who has proven to be an extremely streaky hitter this season, has his OPS down to 722. When he is cold, he is cold. And when he is hot, he is like hot, hot, hot. He was Rookie of the Month in both April and June, but in the months that were not April and June, he has been quite bad, and he is currently on one of those cold streaks. Danny Santana has been quite bad this year. I would like to see him try to turn it around a bit, because I would like to possibly flip him for like a reliever or something at the deadline, because he is in the last year of his contract. We have Leody Taveras, who was recently called up from AAA, or from AA, because he was tearing up AA. He was in AA this season, and he got a huge boost in ratings already. Only 58 ABs in the Major Leagues so far, and I would like to see him produce in the big leagues, because, like I said, he's already got a decent ratings boost this year. Still only 22 years old. He's a switch hitter. He could be a very solid player for us if he actually develops and performs for us. So we'll have to keep a close eye on him. Catcher with a beard who is related to the Tigers exec, because I don't know how to say his last name without getting crucified in the comments. Only 77 ABs for us this season. I mean, the game just never gives any ABs to the backup catcher in The Sims, so I mean, I'm not gonna quick manage every game and take 4 years to get through a season, so that's just what's gonna happen. Didi Gregorius has been really bad for us, coming off a big bounce-back year with the Philadelphia Phillies. I was hoping he would be able to have another season like that, and he would either help us be a wildcard team, or I would be able to flip him at the deadline if we sucked. We are sucking, and he's not really worth anything. If I trade him now, it would have to be for something totally useless, and it would literally just be like a playoff team who is extremely desperate for, like, infield help that would just, like, dump off some useless prospect for him. And literally the only reason why we would trade him now, because we're not going to get any value for him, is just to, like, open up a position for somebody. Which we might end up doing, but once again, we will get into that a bit later on in the episode. Ronald Guzman was probably our best bat in 2020. He has not been good at all in 2021. We have plenty of guys in the organization who can play first base as well, so Guzman's job in this season and his future with this franchise is not secured. Willie Calhoun, we gave him that extension in the offseason, and he picked a hell of a year to decide to suck. A ton of ABs already, and he has been awful. He's a DH, his only job is to hit, and he's currently riding the pine because he's not hitting. So, moving on to Bryce Terang, he's struggling a bit right now in the big leagues. We're going to be sticking with him, obviously, because he is our future shortstop. Another guy at the moment who I'm kind of hoping can be like Falefa, where he's like a high average, high OBP guy, but not so much slugging, because his power is just not good at all. And with his speed, if he can just get on base, he's already a threat on first base, even if he's just a singles hitter. And then, of course, there's Elvis Andrus, the guy that Terang took over for at shortstop. I'd love to have a sub-600 OPS while making $15 million for the next 2 seasons and have the game go, let's actually give him a boost in his contact and power for that performance. Just a round of applause all around on Elvis's performance, and just the show devs for really nailing down and getting that progression right for MLB The Show franchise modes, and actually looking at the mode in a decade. Really round of applause there, show devs. So yeah, Elvis is going to get DFA'd pretty soon, probably next episode to be honest. Moving on to the pitching side of things, there's Charlie Morton, been very good for us. We'll be trading him for prospects at the deadline, not much more to say about him. Lance Lynn got hurt, he is back now, already on a hot streak. Hopefully he carries that into the deadline so we can flip him as well, because he is on the last year of his contract. Jordan Lyles was a guy who I was going to trade him for something, probably not much because he's a C potential, but he went towards labrum, so we will not be trading him. Kyle Cody, not been good this year, was very impressive in the second half of last year, and that's why he ended up on the rotation to start this season, but he has been less than impressive this year, which is not a good sign for the future of the Monster Energy drink and dirt bike jokes and Slim Jim in the floor bed of the truck jokes. Then we've got Trevor Hildenberger, who we picked up in the Rule 5 draft from the Red Sox this year. He has a low ERA, decent FIP, been solid though. I'm definitely happy to have him on our team. Nick Goody has been having a great season, great ERA, great FIP, great strikeout numbers, having an incredible year in the bullpen, so hopefully he can keep it up for the rest of the year. The tiny lefty, Clayton Andrews, he's been pretty solid as well. Joe Palumbo has been making starts while Allard has been hurt. Hasn't been the greatest, but he's filling in, and also we'll move on to Allard in a bit, but Jose Leclerc, he was getting roughed up a bit as the closer in the start of the year, so we moved him to the setup guy, I don't know what I was trying to say there, and he has been lights out as the setup guy, and then Brett Martin is the new closer, and he has continued to be lights out at the closer, so Leclerc and Brett Martin as that like 1-2 punch at the end of games has been really solid for us. While Colby Allard has been pitching, or he was pitching, very well before he got hurt. Hopefully, when he comes back, he will continue that in the second half of the season, and he is going to be back very soon, within days. So, look to see Colby Allard in probably the next episode, while Arodys Vizcaíno is probably going to be this year's Juan Nicasio. Veteran reliever, not too many innings, but like, throughout his career has been a solid guy to have. And some playoff possible team who is desperate for bullpen help will probably receive Arodys Vizcaíno. So just a quick rundown of the trade possibilities. There's Lance Lynn and Charlie Morton, both starters, both having good years, probably going, or they're definitely going to be traded at the deadline, so we're going to have plenty of rotation spots opened up in the second half of the season. Didi Gregorius, literally just going to be a dump-off trade to, if we trade him at all, it's just going to be dumping him to get him off the roster, and it's going to be some, like, extremely desperate playoff possible team who, like, desperately needs help at an infield position, and just maybe Didi can turn it around with them, that they'll just give up, like, nothing for him. So that would be the trade for Didi. Generic bearded catcher guy, sort of the same deal with Didi. He would probably be packaged in with somebody. Arodys Vizcaíno, like I said, he's going to be like last year's Juan Nicasio, veteran reliever, historically pretty solid as a setup guy, so he's probably going to be picked up by a team at the deadline for something. And then Danny Santana, I would like him to try to turn things around and possibly be traded at the deadline, because as of right now, he doesn't really have too much value. And then there's Yoenis Cespedes, who's been probably our best bat so far this season. Only has he potential, though, and he is aging on a one-year deal, so he doesn't have too much value, but we should be able to get something for Yoenis Cespedes. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Texas Rangers franchise. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I am saying I might mess around and rewatch Band of Brothers for about the 10th time in my life.